Well, I'm in Barry in South Wales, and I've come to the cemetery high on the hill. This is Merthyr Dyfan Cemetery. Not been here before, so let's see what it has to offer. Now, Barry is a place of two major areas. One are the industrial docks, and the other is the beach and leisure area. Now, we're high on the hill, some way from the beach, but let's wander around here and have a look and see what's in the cemetery. Just inside the entrance is this board with the outline of the history of the cemetery and its various developments. It was opened in 1888, and amongst other facts it tells me there are 54 servicemen from World War I and 22 from World War II buried here. Directly ahead is the Chapel of Rest, and looking right you can see that a lot of stones have been cleared, and it's kept as very much a park type cemetery. Well, I've turned to the left. It looked like the more major of the paths, so I'm going up a slope at the moment, even higher. If you are coming here by public transport, it is a steep old hill you have to walk up. Now, the one on the right here looks interesting, with the picture of the maiden, possibly an angel, hand raised, left hand on an anchor, and that says Thomas Morgan, 1894, aged 38 years, and then other names in the family beneath. Behind we have a tall column in pink marble. And we have a name on the front of Beatrice Mary, the beloved wife of John Daxton Meggat. One in black stone, very clear inscription, been picked out in gold. I think that's been recently redone. Albert Ernest, beloved husband of Ethel Annie Gardner, 1934, age 57, and then Ethel Annie, 1959. And there are other names on the sides and on the plinth. This one catches my eye. It almost shouts across the graveyard. A very long horizontal piece of marble. Doris Martha, 1974, wife of Robert Leslie Smith. And a space on the right hand side for him, but he hasn't arrived yet, or at least his inscription hasn't been placed on there. Directly behind is this nicely carved stone. See the very young angel on top there. If we come down to the inscription, it's Teresa. I'm not getting the surname, but it looks as though she was just 3 months when she died. A very nice memorial. As I walk further into the cemetery, I can see that it extends for a long way in this direction. Looking down there through the trees, there are a lot of headstones here. I've walked in obviously through the old part, which has been partially cleared, but now we're walking towards the newer area, which is prolific. Now, I've caught my eye. In front of me is the tall stone with the angel. We'll make our way across to that. There's one that's collapsed on the ground in front. And this one is an unusual pose. The angel has both hands beside her face, and if we come down, the inscription is William John, the husband of Mary Ellen Dyer, 1909. Now, they clearly have a problem in this part of the graveyard with soft ground and the stones just collapsing. There's two there which have sunk into the ground, another one behind. That's probably why there's been so much clearance. Even this one, it's got a warning sign on it. It's right down in one corner. Difficult to know what to do with stones when they start to collapse, because the owners of the grave are no longer, usually descendants of those buried there. But you're talking about graves that are 100 years old, and nobody quite knows who owns them anymore. And there's another one collapsing. That's Elsie, the wife of Frederick Oswald Rigg, 1928, age 24. It is a problem, and they've chosen ground likely to subsidence. This one here is not going to be much longer. The one over the back there. And without spending an inordinate amount of money, very difficult to know what one can do. Two here that have had better days. Now, moving now down towards the newer section. There's a war headstone here. Private C.W. King, Royal Welsh Fusiliers, 1916, age 29. This one to Lance Corporal C. Gould of the Welsh Regiment, 1915, aged 39. And this one to Gunner H. Clark, the Royal Artillery, 1940. And this is an unusual design and an unusual inscription. This is Thomas George, the son of John and Mary Ann Messer, who was accidentally drowned at Barry Dock, 1902, age 15. There's something a little different. It's a cube balancing on one edge with the inscription on the face there. I can see the name Margaret. Not getting much more from the inscription than that. It's just a little different. One in white stands out very clearly against all the darker stones. Gordon Victor White, husband of Sheila and father of Leslie and Lee, 1973, age 29. And we've got a couple of other family names on the stone. This new section is pretty big. Now over here, now these are quite close together, these memorials, so I'm suggesting this is a garden of remembrance and that the bodies are not here. This is for those who were cremated and want a place to come and remember that person. And the council have put in a concrete footing all the way along, so the stones rest on that and are quite stable, and there won't be any subsidence. I noticed one over the back there. Stephen John Brodie was clearly a keen golfer. Let's work along this line. There's just a simple angel there, Scott Thompson, quite young, looks like 25. Then, having reached the end of this section, I'm seeing that over there are yet more. I'm moving through the newer section, and here these are for burials. The spacing of the memorials is much wider, leaving room for a grave, and the owners of the cemetery, probably the local council, have seen fit to put in place these long concrete footings to hold the headstones steady. A much more sensible way of placing headstones. Now I'm moving across to this one because it's quite different. White and blue roses all the way round. And I can see a child on one side, possibly a child on the other side, and a lot of ornaments on the grave. Jaden Lee Jones and Faith Rose Lee Jones. A child's grave, or two children's grave. Interesting name for someone in the grave. And behind that we've got this one in the shape of a butterfly. It's a child's grave, stillborn. The grave is very much cared for. Then I go across the path and we're back into the memorials without a burial. The spacing is much closer. Someone cares a lot about the flowers on this one. Mario Enrico Anzani and Eileen Nora Anzani, and a lot of flowers on that stone. Something a little different here, and a very elaborate stone, and that's for Trevor James Overton in 2011. This one for a child's grave, just 10.5 months, has got a steam engine mounted on the top. And this one is quite outstanding in the cemetery. This is for Corey Bailey Price, and he has the football shirt of Cardiff City Football Club, and there's a football on one side there, and in front of the grave is in fact a football boot. There's a section here where people are remembered by planting a tree or a shrub. Let's have a look at this one. You have a small name tag next to it, Reverend Tony Smith, 2022. But there's others as I move around. You can probably hear the gardeners with their strimmers in the background. This is going to be lovely. A lovely way of remembering somebody. This one has got the flowers on. A new row being started. Many of these have taken a small area in front of the headstone. And a notice nearby explains that you can take 22 inches in front of the stone for bedding plants or extra flower containers. And here is an area surrounded by this beech hedge and these gates, and this is the Babies Memorial Garden, and you can see all the names around the outside of the various children. And down here we have a sort of central memorial. A lovely, quiet, secluded spot. I'm going to finish the video at this point. This is an excellent example of how a modern cemetery should be organised. The way the memorials are mounted on concrete foundations, the way the grass is kept in good condition. There are some issues with the older section, but that comes down to the poor ground quality. It's a lovely graveyard, a lovely cemetery, so if you're in Barry, come along and have a look at this one. Till the next time.